Tonight, the anti-road campaign continues as the community is determined to protect the Bibra Lake wetland. The Australian Broadcast Corporation pays tribute to 3 journalists who are feared dead at a helicopter crash in South Australia. Thank you for watching. Also on the evening news, heads roll in the Fire Emergency Service Authority fiasco. The boss has resigned and the Emergency Service Minister Rob Johnson is grilled on a hot seat in the Parliament House. And ex-Fremantle Mayor Rich Utting suggests the merging city of Cockburn and Fremantle. Good evening, everyone. Co-presenter Anna Godden is off tonight. Let's wish her well. Hundreds of protesters gathered at Bibra Lake early this afternoon to rally against the Road 8 construction plan that has been debated for years. The protesters argued that not only the wetland will be destroyed by the construction, but also making Fremantle's freight traffic bottleneck even worse. The campaign that has existed for over 25 years is still going strong today.
Say no to road! Say no to road! Say no to road!
The Road Highway Stage 8 was part of the Stevenson plan for Perth Metropolitan Ring Road. Despite the road was cancelled by Labor state government in 2008, the plan is back after the Liberal Party won the state election 3 years ago. In 2003, the EPA has already stated that the construction of the Road 8 highway will lead to the ecological values of the area being diminished as a whole in the long term. The environmentalists argued that its 5.5-kilometre stretch of road cannot solve the freight bottleneck problem, and it will also cost more than 700 million Australian dollars to go ahead, the most expensive road ever built in Western Australia.
The main problem is, in terms of the state government, that they don't have the money to actually build the road. It will be dependent on federal funding, and I think the federal government will look very, very seriously at the ecology of the wetlands, and I believe they will make the right decision.
If the Road 8 is being built, the freight traffic will affect the neighbourhoods between Stock Road and Leach Highway like Bibra Lake, Coolbellup, Hamilton Hill, O'Connor and Willagee. Shadow Transport Minister Ken Travis says the huge amount of money can be spent in refining public transport across WA.
Look, one of the problems is that this will just shift traffic from one set of roads to another. It won't reduce traffic. It won't fix the problems of traffic getting into Fremantle Port unless we get freight off-road and onto rail into Fremantle Harbour.
Opposition leader Eric Ripper believes that the community strongly supports retaining the Bibra Lake wetland and don't want to see a big freeway running over it.
This is environmentally sensitive land. It's been supported by every environmental report. So every environmental report into this freeway project has said don't do it. The government stubbornly goes ahead for political reasons, I think. It's totally wrong.
Transport Minister Troy Buswell has said in this statement released in June this year, supporting the construction of Road 8. He says that it will improve the efficiency of the South Metropolitan Road network, particularly in relation to access to ports and industrial developments. Once built, it will provide increased road safety through the reduction of heavy vehicles from Leach Highway and other local roads, reducing congestions on local roads including Farrington Roads and South Street, lower air pollution and improved travel times. Ivan Leung, DHK News. Tributes from around Australia poured into the ABC website as the public broadcasters fear that they have lost 3 of their finest newsmen in a helicopter crash in a remote part of South Australia. Police anticipated that they will not have any positive news.
We're not expecting to find any survivors, but we are, through the thoroughness, conducting further checks in that area.
There are more than 700 tribute messages left on the webpage. The ABC Managing Director Mark Scott has also paid tribute, calling them the 3 news gatherers at its peak of their craft. WA Emergency Service Minister Rob Johnson refused to step down after the damning report into the Kelmscott and Roleystone bushfire completed by the former Australian Federal Police boss McKelty, which forced the FESA's Chief Executive Joe Harris-Ward to resign. The state government is now rushing to put the report's recommendation into practice as the fire season will be approaching to WA in less than 6 weeks.
On the 7th of February this year, 71 houses burnt down with another 39 damaged during the Kelmscott-Roleystone bushfires. The Kelty report was released to State Parliament on Thursday and slammed the Fire and Emergency Service Authority's shortcomings. It included criticisms of the failed GPS system, which caused problems with response locations. Poor communication management and the ineffectiveness of the mobile incident controller system were also discussed. The Emergency Service Minister Rob Johnson has denied any responsibility, even as the inquiry exposed problems about Western Australia's firefighting abilities. Minister Johnson said, "I don't think that I've done anything that warrants me standing down. If I thought I'd done something wrong as the minister, I would stand down." Shadow Emergency Service Minister Margaret Quirk said it's not acceptable for Rob Johnson to avoid responsibility.
This is the only latest in a number of examples where Rob Johnson has failed to act decisively. There have been 3 major fires under his watch, greatest property loss for many years in Western Australia, and yet he denies that there is a problem.
Yesterday, the opposition said the government had lost confidence in Rob Johnson and that it was time for Premier Colin Barnett to act.
I think Mr Barnett is ill-advised. I think he's protecting Mr Johnson because he'll see it as somehow an opposition victory if Mr Johnson leaves Cabinet, and I think he's making a big mistake.
Jo Lettenmaier, DHK News.
The Metropolitan Police appealed to the public to look out for a man who has assaulted 2 sex workers in Perth's northern suburbs. Police also says women who work in the sex industry should not minimise the seriousness of the attacks.
The 39-year-old woman was sexually assaulted after she was grabbed around the throat and forced onto a bed in a massage parlour in Doubleview on the 28th of July this year. Less than 3 weeks later, the same man was refused entry after he tried to enter a massage parlour on Sackville Terrace in Scarborough. He then travelled back to the same massage parlour in Doubleview, where he assaulted another 39-year-old woman. The man also stole property from both victims during the separate incidents. Police described the man as in his early 40s, fair-skinned, approximately 177 centimeters tall, and of medium build with short dark hair. Anyone who has information regarding the man should call Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000. Shibs Way, DHK News.
Former Fremantle Mayor Richard Uttings has recommended the merge between City of Fremantle and Cockburn. Fremantle's population has been declining as the city felt they are risking of losing importance in the area. Cockburn City Mayor Logan Howlett has told DHK News that 66% of the Cockburn electors are opposed to the merger of both cities.
There's an independent panel that's been appointed to look at the social, economic and environmental considerations for the whole of the Perth metropolitan area, and we're looking forward at the City of Cockburn to engage with the independent panel members and to put forward our case in terms of sustainability and capacity to deliver services to our local community.
Speaking of city councils, Subiaco has become the city instead of a town officially this Friday. To Hong Kong stories now, and police have arrested a businessman in connection with a cyber attacks on Hong Kong's stock exchange website last week. The attack forced the site to close, resulting in temporary suspension of tradings in 7 companies.
Financial Secretary John Tang has disagreed that a website of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange is not safe after it was hacked this Wednesday. The hacking caused few blue-chip stocks to suspend the transactions, including Cathay Pacific and HSBC. The stock exchange's chief executive, Charles Lee, said the attacks appear to originate from a network of personal computers outside the territory. Yesterday, the police said a 29-year-old man was detained in Guangdong for gaining access to a computer with dishonest or criminal intent. Legislative Council House Committee Chairman Miriam Lau says the LEGCO Commission is optimistic that lawmakers can open their next session at a new Tamar site. Speaking at a first news conference held at a new building, Mrs. Lau said that moving in is subject to a 3-week test period for electronic systems, including voting, internal communication, and lighting. The commission oversees the legislature's operations. Members have been concerned that a new chamber would not be ready on time. Mrs. Lau said they have contingencies for opening the session in the old chamber. Herbert Ramos, DHK News.
The Hong Kong Journalists Association has been stating a protest accusing the police of suppressing media freedom in their security operation for Vice Premier Li Keqiang's visit earlier this week. About 300 demonstrators marched from the new government office in Admiralty to the nearby police headquarters. Journalists have complained that they had to endure stringent checks and were kept far away from Mr. Li during his time in the SAR. The association chairwoman, Mak Yin-ting, said she feared the police may be adopting new tactics for the future. However, the Chief Secretary, Henry Tang, yesterday dismissed it as complete rubbish, accusation that the administration has violated civil rights or free speech. He said the government fully supported the freedom of the press, but that the police also had the duty to ensure the safety of the visiting politicians. Jonathan Hui, DMHK News in Hong Kong.
Sports is next with Camilo Mejia.
Thanks, Ivan, and welcome to Evening Sport. To tennis, and at the Cincinnati Masters, Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer cruised through to the third round, but world number 2 Raphael Nadal had to fight to the end in his match, which lasted 3 hours and 37 minutes. Nadal beat fellow compatriot Fernando Verdasco in 3 tie-break sets, 7-6, 6-7, 7-6. The win extends Nadal's perfect record against Verdasco to 12. Nadal will play American Marty Fish in the next round. Just before I go, remember tonight's AFL match will be Sydney versus St Kilda at the ANZ Stadium at 1:10 Eastern Standard Time. That's all we have for sport. Here's Ivan. Good night.
Thanks, Cam. And just before we go, a reminder that you can stay in touch with us 24/7 on our Facebook page at the link below. You're also welcome to join me on my Facebook by searching Ivan Leung and click like on my page. And please do comment things if you like. Hope to meet you then, and that's how the world looks tonight. And I will be back presenting with me same time next week. Good night.